Today on Collider Movie Talk, Patty Jenkins know how Wonder Woman 3 is going to end. We've got Fast and the Furious all-female edition. And hey, Nic Cage is going to fight off aliens on Earth. He's going to save our butts. Coming up next on Collider Movie Talk. Nothing? Really? Nothing? This vibrant panel.
What do you want,
Nothing.
Rocha?
I give you a great intro, and you guys can't even make the baskets. Welcome, everyone, to Collider Movie Talk. I am sitting in for Mark Ellis. He is off telling jokes in Poughkeepsie or Schenectady somewhere, so I am sitting in to cover for him here on Movie Talk. Couldn't do it solo, you know that, so I had to bring in two of the most talkative guests I've ever had on the show. Certainly right there, Jeff Sneider joining me. How are you, Jeff?
Wonderful, John. Great to see you in the hosting chair.
And of course, my man who hosts MMA Takedown, knows so much about gaming over the Collider Gaming Channel, Dennis Tzeng. How are you, Dennis?
Doing good. It's a busy week. Busy week.
Yeah.
This week.
We started out this morning with what are we going to talk about? It was a couple news stories, and all of a sudden, all this stuff started flowing in.
Yeah,
so we got so much to cover today. So sit back, relax, have a little drink on us, and enjoy this episode of Movie Talk. You know, it's a little looser when I host versus Ellis. Let's start off with the first. Let's start off with the first topic, and this just came in as we were getting things together for the show. According to Variety, there's only going to be 2 songs performed at the Oscars that were nominated for Best Song. That's A Star Is Born song, Shallow, that was performed by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, and then Kendrick and Lamar and SZA's All the Stars from the Black Panther soundtrack. Jeff, you wrote this up on Collider.com. What can you tell us about this?
I think it's a tough call, but the Academy had to make it. I think it's a smart move. Mm-hmm. Like, those are the 2 big chart-topping songs that people want to see with, from popular artists, Lady Gaga, Kendrick Lamar. They could bring in a new audience that the Oscars have never really had. So I understand, if you're trying to keep the show under 3 hours, which they are, saying goodbye to some of the original, the other song nominees, which include Jennifer Hudson singing a song from RBG, Tim Blake Nelson singing a song from Buster Scruggs, and then Emily Blunt, of course, from Mary Poppins. And I think that the exclusion of Poppins, which is Disney, which is ABC, like if that had made the cut and it had been 2 Disney songs, that may have been different. But Disney's kind of giving themselves the shaft here by not including Emily Blunt. So I think that this is purely a ratings play, and it's not to suggest that the Academy prefers or favors those 2 songs over the others. Although we all know Shallow's going to win this, right, Dennis?
Yeah, I think so. And also the only one that would probably give it a run for its money is All the Stars, because those are the 2 biggest ones. I'm happy about this because it's one of those things. The Oscars is way too long, and they need a cut. Didn't they before? Wasn't it where they played not just all the original nominees, but they used to play the scores as well?
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God.
They do dance. They would do dance pieces to that as well.
Yeah.
And it's not the Tonys. People have to understand that. Like, I thought there was way too much singing and dancing in past Oscar ceremonies. I think with 2 songs like this, you keep it to 7-8 minutes tops, and you still get everything that those big moments, a big powerful moment like Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga singing would provide.
Well, and that's the thing you got to take a look at here, right? They're talking about cutting down the time, but not just that, but the ratings, right? So you go for these popular songs that come out of both of these movies. I was surprised that Triple Little Light Fantastic wasn't the nomination for Mary Poppins Returns. That's the one they released first as a pseudo video and everything like that. So, with all the dancing. So I thought that was going to be the one. So that makes sense that you're not going to go with that, right? I'll Fight from RBG. And then, of course, like you said, when a cowboy trades his spurs for wings, no one's tuning in to see these at the high ratings level. So it makes sense to go this route. I do think, though, once again, you hear the knock from the other side is that, you're short shrifting our category by not letting these artists step up and perform. And don't think that Shallow is going to win. Everybody thought last year the Greatest Showman song was going to win, and didn't. The Coco song won, which was nowhere near as catchy or as empowering as the Keela Settle song.
But I think the Kendrick Lamar is the closest one. So you have the
top 2, right?
Absolutely. The top 2. And the thing is like they're not short shifting the categories, because it's not like Best Actor goes up there and performs for 5 minutes for a scene from their movie. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, yes, they did it for entertainment factor for the live audience there. And now they're thinking more for, the people at home. Look, if you're there live at the Oscars, That's good enough,
Yeah.
right? You're in the theater at the Oscars. That's pretty good. So you don't need like the whole like song and dance thing.
I was talking with Adam Chitwood about it, and it's like I agree with him. I wish that they played all the songs because I would watch a 5 or 6 hour Oscar show.
Sure,
but that's just not realistic, and there is historical precedent for this. Some years they've performed all the songs, some years they performed none of the songs, and some years they performed only a few of the songs. So it's not like this is a brand new thing.
Right, and I think that's what's frustrating because in the past they've also had other people perform the songs for like a minute, and then you move on
just
to
a
the
kinda
next
little
thing.
clip.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And you do get clips from scenes from the movies.
Okay,
so you get that much.
Okay,
so,
well, why don't
yeah,
we just
you
show?
can't make that
why don't we show
correlative
an
thing.
editor up there with his either Avid or Premiere open, clicking here. This is how I
No,
do
but
an
they do
L
show-
cut, and here's how I do a J cut.
Right.
Okay. Like, well,
Yeah,
nobody's
but they
watching
do,
that.
But they do show scenes that were well edited by those nominated editors. So in essence, you are watching their work.
I think that there's going to be more room this year for those kinds of montages and
Yeah, do
those
a
kinds
montage.
of packages
Do a
because
montage
there's no
with the
host.
songs.
I
Do the
agree.
montage with the songs.
Yeah, that
That's
could
fine.
work.
That's
I miss the
But you don't need
montages.
like every single song of 5-6
Yeah.
minutes, and then
I agree.
Right. And then a dance number and all that
Yeah,
jazz.
yeah.
Okay, so there you go. 2 songs only at the Oscars. That's all you get. That's all you get. We'll see which one. Wouldn't it be ironic if one of the 3 songs not performed wins? That would be funny as hell.
Right.
All right, moving on to Wonder Woman 3. Patty Jenkins, in an interview with Vanity Fair, she was talking about Wonder Woman and the project. Of course, she's working on Wonder Woman 1984 right now, but she is quoted as saying this about Wonder Woman 3. I have pretty clear plans for Wonder Woman 3. Whether I direct it or not, I see how her arc should end in my incarnation of Wonder Woman. I have great passion for that. Dennis, I read this and I go, this is her angling with the studio to come back and finish this out. I think people are learning from the Star Wars situation where JJ should have done all 3 movies, and maybe this is Patty's waves. Remember, it took a while for her to sign on for the second one. They had to back that money truck back up into her house. So do you think this is her way of saying, look, I want to finish this arc out, and so I know what to do with this character, blah, blah, blah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And then she, it also will depend on how the second one does, right?
Right.
The whole reason that she had all the leverage for being signed on the second one is because the first one did so well. And
Right.
so if this one, let's say, underperforms, then they may think twice about it. But I have a feeling it's going to do well, and she's going to get that 3rd spot. But I mean, really, the story is not going to end. They're not. Wonder Woman's not going away. She's going to close out her idea, like Christopher Nolan did, right?
Right.
For his idea of Batman, right? So
Right.
he did that trilogy. There's plenty of Batman movies that came out after. There's going to be plenty more that keep going. So I think she just wants to close out what her arc for that character is, and they'll keep someone else will come in later on.
It's one of the fascinating things when you look at superhero trilogies, superhero movies that have worked in this way. It's rare when the same director or same creator or artist gets to finish out the trilogy, right? X-Men 1 and 2, Singer, who steps in? Ratner to do the 3rd one, right? Superman 1 and 2's Donner. They replace Donner in the 2nd one. Now with Wonder Woman, maybe this is a possibility too. Batman Dark Knight Returns. Nolan is one of the rare ones that gets to finish, right? Tim Burton kicked off after Batman Returns. Schumacher steps in. Those kinds of things happen. So, and Dark Knight Rises wasn't received that well. So,
I mean, it was received well, but it wasn't received as
to
well.
the level that Dark Knight was, right? And that's and this is what concerns me a little bit, Jeff. Is what I want to talk to you because you love controversy. Now we know this is Steve Trevor is coming back, Chris Pine's coming back. I know you're not a big comic book movies fan, but I want to get your thoughts here. We know Steve Trevor's. How are they going to do that with Chris Pine? What's going to be about? What's that all about? There were some people who didn't like the fact that Kristen Wiig was cast as Cheetah, and then some people didn't like that footage that was released. Of course, a lot of people did, but some people were like, "Well, this doesn't have the same vibe." Is this possibly Patty playing both sides, being like, "Well, even if it isn't received well, I still want to come back and finish this out"?
I don't think it matters whether it's received well or not. Look at Aquaman.
Okay.
I keep bringing it up on the show. But, Wonder Woman 1984 is going to make money. It's going to make a lot of money. I don't think that there is any doubt about that. So I think that she will be back for a 3rd one. I think that she has become synonymous with this franchise. There's a real sense of authorship. It's similar to Nolan and his Dark Knight trilogy, or even James Gunn and his would-be Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
Right. There's another gentleman who's not going to get to finish out his trilogy.
I think that fans would be really disappointed if she didn't come back and have a damn good reason. And I don't know how, it's not like there's not some huge franchise unless she gets the opportunity to do a Star Wars movie. I don't know what would take her away from a part 3. So yeah, I expect that she'll return, and maybe this is her sort of positioning herself for those upcoming negotiations, if there are negotiations, or maybe they were dealt with in the last round. You know, like if Warner Brothers was smart, I think it would have locked her into 2 more. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that they didn't. That's a bit of a surprise. They didn't, but maybe Patty didn't want to be locked in either, in case all the other movies around Wonder Woman didn't do well. Of course, now with Aquaman making $1 billion, it's financially well. The critics, 65%, but still, it did its money. Enough people came. The fans loved it, so it did its job. She can now work this out to maybe come back for the third one. I think it's smart all around for her to make a comment like this. She has to come back to finish that, because DC has to remember, there was a lot of darkness before Patty Jenkins showed up. And so when she showed up, she showed what DC could do, gave them new life in a way. And so they owe her to let her finish this arc out, this trilogy out. And so
she's become a real star.
Yeah.
I think she's like, more like the face of a Wonder Woman movie than most directors are for their comic book films. Like, even with Ruben Fleischer and Venom, like we don't think of that as like a Ruben Fleischer, joint, so to speak. But Wonder Woman's very much a Patty Jenkins joint. And I don't think you can separate the two.
Yeah, agreed. Well, from one female-led superhero movie to another possible female-led spin-off franchise here, Fast and Furious. This is coming to us. Vin Diesel announced on his Instagram that he and his producing partner Samantha Vincent are developing a female-driven Fast and Furious spin-off based on a pitch they recently received from writers Nicole Perlman, Lindsay Beer, and Geneva Robertson-Dorette. And if you've been listening to or paying attention to movie news, those ladies are involved with a lot of female superhero films about to come out. And they learned that all three of Collider's learned that the three scribes pitched the project together, but it remains unclear whether all three will be available to co-write the script together. You mentioned that Michelle Rodriguez has been pushing for this for years, but Gal Gadot, who we just spoke about with the Wonder Woman franchise, she passed away in Fast and Furious. How are they going to make this work as a female-led? Are we getting Jordana Brewster back? Is Charlize Theron going to come back? Like, what do you see happening here? And first of all, do you like this idea? Then what do you see happening here?
I like the idea in the sense that, Universal has to do something to keep that franchise fresh, because they're about to start Fast 9 and then Fast 10 has already been announced. So you need to reinvent the franchise and put a new twist on it. If that means female driven, then that's great. There's a lot of great female characters in this franchise that you can spin off and have fun adventures with. But at the same time, they've kind of been beaten to the punch already by a lot of other franchises who are going this route. So we're going to be getting a lot of this over the next few years. You couldn't ask for 3 better, screenwriters. These are, and I made it a real point in my article not to say these are 3 of the top female screenwriters. These are just 3 top screenwriters, period, right now. Like, they're getting hired on huge projects. So they all went in and pitched it together, and it sounds like Vin Diesel sparked to that pitch. I don't know if they'll all write it together just because they're all contracted out to a bunch of big jobs, and it's also very rare to see 3 writers hired together. Maybe 2 write it and the other one settles for story credit. I don't know, but from what I understand, it could be set at different time periods within the franchise. Okay. This is a franchise that likes to play with time, so I think anything is on the table, including a possible return for Gal Gadot. Obviously, Universal would love to bring her back. Yeah, and she already did that in the second Wreck-It Ralph movie, playing a race car driver in that film as well. So wouldn't that be there'd be a live action version, even more so? You talk about these ladies and what they wrote. Captain Marvel, Black Widow. Lindsay Beer worked on the Silver Sable movie. Robertson Dorette worked on Captain Marvel and Silver Sable as well. This is a powerhouse lineup of screenwriters to bring this. It's interesting that Vin is still able to pull in this with this franchise, who's about to make it's making its 9th film and already signed for a 10th film. Now we're spinning off with Hobbs and Shaw with The Rock and Statham. Now we got a female spin. Is this surprising to you, Dennis, that this franchise is still kicking it after all these years, and then have this possibility of female?
Yeah, I am surprised because I remember when their franchise was close to dying after it was the 3rd one. Yeah, like, and then the 5th one is the one kind of that revitalized it. And then I enjoy these movies. They're dumb fun. So I don't know, with how good the screenwriters that they've hired for this are good screenwriters. I'm just wondering how far they're going to go in terms of how deep or complex. None of these movies are very deep or complex. Right. You know,
point,
you got cars flying from one building to another.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not surprised at all, and I do think they're going to bring Gal Gadot back.
Yeah.
Because Michelle Rodriguez's character, if I'm not mistaken, her character died as well, right?
Yeah, she did. Well, she came back. She died, and then she came back.
No problem. I mean,
Yeah.
what happened to Gal Gadot's character? I think she fell off the back of whatever.
Yeah.
And we didn't see her body or anything. It's like, oh, she got really hurt. They took her to the hospital. She's been hiding out for the 5 years.
Yeah,
Why not? She's Wonder Woman. Everyone knows it. She's at that time when they had her in the movie. She, the thing is, she was known as a model. She was not a big part. I almost forgot that she was in that franchise until after when she became Wonder Woman.
So that's the question. It's like, could she possibly feel like she's too big to reprise this character and go back to this franchise? Or is it like, wow, this franchise sort of gave me an opportunity when nobody saw me as anything really more than a model?
I think it's just money.
Yeah,
I think it's just money.
Cuts right down to brass tacks. Yeah, you're probably right.
Well, I mean, Gina Rodriguez is a possibility to bring in some new blood, new female blood. Her coming off Annihilation, her coming off this Miss Bala. We'll see how that does, how that gets received. There's a lot of actresses, young actresses of multiple ethnicities that could slide into this franchise. This franchise has always been great about doing that. They could slide into this franchise on the female side of things and create a fun spin-off world that you want to take a part of. And if they jump around in time, they jump around in time. I think the fans don't care.
No.
Just let's have some big dumb fun in there and let's see some car chases and make it death-defying and everything like that. I just wonder what Michelle Rodriguez's role would be in this. Is she more like the veteran on the team, kind of leading everybody?
She becomes the Dom character.
Yeah, in essence, right? That's the way it would go down. I like this idea. I'm excited about it. I'm a guy who likes these Fast and Furious films. And look, I've never walked out of one going, whew, that was awesome. I've always walked out of one going, I had a good time. It was ridiculous and none of the story made sense, but I had a great time. And I think that's okay. And I think Hobbs and Shaw might be the one that I walk out of and I'm like, that was awesome. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see if they do that. And if they do a female one, why not? I mean, so much of these franchises are now leaning towards having female leads and they're working and the money is there at the box office to show that these decisions make sense overall. So I like it overall. All right, let's move on to our next topic, and that is, I got to talk about today's future programming at Collider. That's what my notes say. An all-new Collider Jedi Council, which I produced, dropped today. Emma 5 stopped by to join Ken and Christian to talk about a lot of Star Wars stuff, some Mandalorian stuff, some Adam Driver stuff, all that in there talking about Star Wars. There's a set visit for Shazam that's up now on Collider.com. Go and read all those articles about the set visit. Perry, who was on the set visit?
Frosty,
was it Frosty? Yeah. Frosty. Perry's the one who did the set visit for Captain Marvel.
Yes.
So that's up as well. So Frosty visiting for Shazam. You'll find that article, 18 things you need to know about Shazam before you walk through the door of your theater. There's an all-new Riley Roundtable that dropped this morning. Jay Washington stops by to talk about his life, work in the Schmoedown, and who knows, assorted other crazy stuff he talks about with Riley. And of course, the latest TV talk is up, which I think is Thad and Makuga on this one, I think, talking all kinds of stuff on TV. So, all right, there you go. So a lot of Collider programming after you finish watching Movie Talk. Let's move on to our next story, and that is a Doctor Who guy, Matt Smith. He has apparently signed on to star with Jared Leto, according to Variety, in the Marvel spin-off Morbius, which is, of course, Morbius the Living Vampire, that you know from the comics there. There's no word yet on what role he's going to play, except that it's going to be a big role. The Safe Out director, Daniel Espinosa, is in charge of this, and this is going to be an interesting choice to use Matt Smith. I know we're doing another comic book movie. Jeff Sneider's already given me the grimace face, but so I'm going to go to Dennis on this one. Dennis, Matt Smith, Doctor Who, has played villains before, obviously won the Emmy for The Crown. This is a well-regarded actor that is building his base in the world of movies now. He's going to be seen in Star Wars Episode 9. Do you like this idea that he's joining Morbius and could possibly be playing the villain?
It's an interesting choice. I mean, Matt Smith, I don't watch Doctor Who, but I did watch him in The Crown, and I thought he was good in that. I mean, just for me, Morbius is an interesting character to choose to do a spin-off movie. I mean, I guess because Sony doesn't have too much to choose from, because it's Spider-Man and then all the villains, right? And so they have to turn all the villains into, and they had much success financially with Venom. So and they get someone like an Oscar-winning actor like Jared Leto to play the lead role, and of course they're gonna greenlight it. But Matt Smith as the villain, it's like, isn't Morbius this whole thing of turning the villains more into anti-heroes, and I'm just not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting tack they're taking, because the rumors online that you find is that he's possibly playing Loxias Crown. Loxias Crown is Morbius's friend who turns into his bitter enemy. He has the same condition that Morbius, the same blood disorder that Morbius has, and he uses the experimental blood serum to transform into a bloodthirsty superhuman creature of the night. That's basically Jeff Sneider after 12 o'clock. So Jeff, you hear this? Once again, this is an interesting tack to take. Friend turned villain. Yes, you got superhero stuff, but you've got to base it in some kind of like relationship that people can connect to. I know you're not the biggest fan of superhero movies, but you hear something like this, Jared Leto and Matt Smith. Does this excite you to see this kind of these two actors being on screen together going at it for a movie?
Nope. The idea of Jared Leto actually playing a vampire intrigues me, especially for director Daniel Espinosa. I mean, Leto already kind of looks like a vampire, and I think that we need more cool vampire movies that aren't Twilight, but are more Interview with the Vampire or Lost Boys or whatever. But yeah, I can't say I'm looking forward to Morbius, just because I fear it's going to have that same sort of 4-quadrant tone that Venom had.
Right.
Like, it's not going to be like a real badass vampire movie, which is what I think I'm looking for. And then Matt Smith, he just doesn't do it for me. I'm not a Doctor Who guy. I have not liked Matt Smith in Terminator Genesis or Ryan Gosling's movie Lost River or Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Whoa. That was a good movie, but go ahead. All right.
Are you for real?
I loved Pride and Prejudice.
I enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah.
You guys are killing me. That movie was atrocious. Not Matt Smith's fault, obviously, but I'm just saying he just doesn't really bring much to the table to me. I know that Sony had set its hopes a little bit higher. They'd gone after Eddie Redmayne for this, and for James McAvoy. They kind of settled for Matt Smith. I just don't know that Jared Leto versus Matt Smith pumps me up.
Okay.
Would you get more excited if they wanted to go kind of the Joaquin Phoenix Joker route, where
yes,
because what I'm worried about is that we're gonna get, like you said, because I didn't really care for Venom, like a Venom style movie, but if they went darker and more into vampire lore.
Yeah, I really like Blade. I know I like this Blade. Rep is not liking comic book movies. I really like Blade, and there's plenty of comic book movies that I do like. I think it's a certain tone and sheen that these Sony Marvel movies. Again, I like Spider-Man, but Venom was just an unnecessary spin-off, even though it did really well, and that's why Sony's obviously ramping this up, because Venom did so well. But I'm not sure that this expansion of the Spider-Man franchise is going to work.
I wonder how this plays out, because with Hunger, it's the character's alter ego for the villain of Loxias Crown, that could weave in Spider-Man, could weave in
Into
Blade.
Venom?
It weaves in Blade. Blade has been a character in...
But they don't have right...
That's what I wonder about. Where are the rights for Blade? What can they work out?
Good question.
Who can they bring in? Because there's been a lot of rumors. I think Wesley on Twitter said he'd be willing to come back.
I bet he would.
And recently they released all the episodes for the 2006 or 2009 TV series of Blade that they did with Sticky Fingers from Onyx fame, which I watched every one of those. I was like, this is great. I was ashamed. I was sad they didn't bring it back. So this could be an interesting way to open the door to a lot of these characters. You talk about Morbius. It's shocking they go this route, but I think this is what Guardians of the Galaxy did, opened up the possibility of using characters that aren't that well known and make money off it. Now Venom does it. Morbius could do the same thing, especially with Jared Leto leading the way.
I don't know. Pratt and Hardy are much different performers than Leto.
Pratt was coming off a sitcom.
Yeah, I get it. But I think he has a certain charisma and charm that Leto lacks. What do you think, Dennis?
An Oscar winner.
I'm just with the character itself. Morbius, never one of my favorite villains in the Spider-Man universe. So that I just don't know how, unless they go kind of more the hardcore route, where this is like a real vampire, and they make it much more serious and dark, which I don't think they're going to do. They're probably going to make it, I don't know, lighthearted like Venom, because Venom also was a much darker character in the comic books than in the movie. So Yeah, I think you could do something good with it. I just don't know. And I kind of understand why, because they want to make money, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're going to try and make it appeal to the mass audience.
You've got to use what you have, and they have this stable of Marvel characters.
Yes, right.
But at the same, like Leto, does he feel like a hero to you?
Well,
I think he's
Leto's
a tough guy to root for.
Well, I mean, he was a kind of a hero in Dallas Buyers Club, and so so you don't know. And of course, My So-Called Life. So many young girls fell in love with him in that show. So he's got a track record here with an Oscar. But the Joker thing is a bit of a mark against him, and that's what I wonder if going this route is enough of a turn to make people forget a little bit about the Joker and give him a chance on Morbius. So it's fair to be suspicious or skeptical.
I don't think he's a leading man.
Wow. Strongly say.
And that's not to say I don't think he's a good actor. I think he is a good actor. I don't see him as like a leading protagonist hero.
What about lead singer? Do you buy his albums? You buy 30 Seconds from Mars?
You know what? That's between me and my car stereo.
No, okay, fair enough. All right, let's move on. Someone who could have played Morbius the Living Vampire maybe 10, 15 years ago, Nicolas Cage. That's right, Nic Cage, a massive comic book fan. I would love to see him as a villain in a comic book movie. As a vampire villain, even better. But he is reteaming with the producers of Mandy for an adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft story. It is a horror story called Color Out of Space. Richard Stanley is directing this one. Remember Richard Stanley?
No.
There was a movie called The Island of Dr. Moreau that was remade that Richard Stanley was a part of. And if you haven't seen that documentary about the movie, it is one of the most insane documentaries akin to that face that Nic Cage is making that I've ever seen in my entire life. He was fired off the show, the film rather. Frankenheimer comes in, finishes out the direction. It's madness what goes down. Richard Stanley hides out in the forest for a while, then comes back and plays an extra in the film. He was an extra for a few weeks on his own film that he'd been fired off of. That's the kind of guy that should be directing a Nicolas Cage movie. It makes all kinds of sense to me in the world. It's coming from Ace Pictures and Spectre Vision, who also did, like as I mentioned earlier, did Mandy. The principal photography is supposed to kick off next month already with Jolie Richardson, Tommy Chong, Elliot Knight, Julian Hilliard, and Kuriaka Kilcher is also starring in this one. All right, Benazet, you hear all this. Does this excite you at all? Does this make you want to go and see this? And did you see Mandy?
I did not see Mandy yet, but I've been hearing a lot of good things about it, and I like the trailer. It's very weird. It looks like it's violent, but also at the same time has like a dark sense of humor to it. So if you have that team behind this as well, I'm still interested in it's as long as it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Well, with Nic Cage involved, I don't think it can take itself too seriously. Jeff, here's the synopsis here. It's a story of a cosmic terror about the Gardeners, a family who moves to a remote farmstead in rural New England. There you go. To escape the hustle of the 21st century, they're busy adapting to their new life when a meteorite crashes into their front yard. The mysterious aerolite seems to melt into the earth, infecting both the land and the properties of space-time with a strange, otherworldly color. It's very reminiscent of Mandy. If you've seen Mandy, so many interesting colors in that movie. To their horror, the Gardner family discover that this alien force is gradually mutating every life form that it touches, including them. Sneider, you're crazy. Do you love this?
Hard pass.
What? How can you say hard pass?
Mandy was bad. The Island of Dr. Moreau was worse. And any movie
I don't disagree
featuring Tommy Chong cannot be good.
What?
By rules. At least these days, Yeah, come on. This is like... I like the Spectre Vision guys, and I like the mission of that company. I can't really remember one movie of theirs that I liked that they've produced.
Wow.
We just have very different tastes in genre films. Lovecraft is not someone who really does. For me, I didn't grow up reading a lot of his stuff. I was more of a Stephen King guy. But this kind of sounds like a generic Nicolas Cage movie that I'll stumble upon on VOD and most likely skip.
Wow. So Mandy has shown up on the top 10 lists of a lot of critics last year.
Yeah, a lot of critics are insane.
It didn't work.
Insane.
Nothing about it worked for you.
I love the opening 10 minutes of Mandy set to the King Crimson song, Starless, or whatever it is. No, Mandy kind of went off the rails when it got all supernatural.
Okay.
I actually thought it had something until it introduced that element. It looked interesting, but it's just like this acid trip movie, and no, I didn't really get on board with it.
All right, one last question here before we leave this topic. Nic Cage, Mandy, he's been on, as I said, he's been on the top 10 lists of a lot of critics from last year. Now he's reteaming with the producers to be a part of this. Is this a way of him walking back onto the A-list possibly to be part of some of these bigger franchises? Either
is an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation from the producer Mandy, co-starring Tommy Chong, goes way back to the A-list. Is that the question?
Listen, I'm saying we have these actors that at times go and dip into other pools for a while and then come right back on. Quentin Tarantino has certainly made a living out of bringing those actors out of obscurity and back onto A-list stuff. So isn't there possibilities here?
Spider-Verse did that. Spider-Verse, because he was good as Spider-Noir or whatever. I think that could open some doors for him, to sort of play that kind of like Russell Crowe dad in Man of Steel role. I've always liked Nicolas Cage, and I think that his particular brand of weirdness would actually fit in well with a lot of comic book movies these days. Like he would have fit right into Aquaman. But I don't think this movie is going to move the needle for his career one way or the other.
All right, Dennis, would you want to see him move into something like this down the road here in one of these superhero franchises, maybe?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like he's going to be the leading man like he was in like Ghost Rider. It'd be more like supporting character, and and besides Spider-Verse, he also, I mean, when he did the Big Daddy in
which is a Kick-Ass, which is a great comic book movie that I love.
Yeah. So those type of roles, kind of, I don't know, he's doing the kind of humor very well, kind of a little kind of dark sense of humor. So anything in that realm I'd be down for.
Well, he also voiced Superman in the Teen Titans Go to the Movies earlier last year as well. So I just think this is a weird kind of concerted effort to move back into the eyes of the people doing more of the A-list stuff. And Nic Cage is revered for his commitment to the lunacy of the movies that he's in. And I thought Mandy, which I love to pieces, showed you his abilities are still inside that guy, and it'd be great to put him in the right situation. So we'll see what happens with that, but I like this idea of him reteaming with the Mandy producers. All right, before we get to the last topic for today, I want to let you guys know we want to read your live Twitter questions. So put the hashtag Collider Movie Talk, send some of those questions, and I will read maybe one or two, depending on how the time is going at the end of the show. All right, remember, hashtag Collider Movie Talk. Make them fun and interesting. Look at these two panelists. You got a lot to work with here. All right, MoviePass is attempting a comeback with some new pricing options. Everyone has been kind of writing off MoviePass, just wondering when the death knell will eventually toll and we'll be done with MoviePass. But Variety is reporting that instead of casting itself as a disruptor, MoviePass is now striking a more humble posture with this Let's Go to the Movies campaign that they are releasing here to showcase their new pricing. The Select, which is the middle of the country where tickets are cheaper, there's a monthly deal that starts at $9.95 and allows customers to use 3 movies per month, or to see 3 movies per month at some point during their theatrical run. But the most expensive plan is known as the Red Carpet, and it costs $19.95. Lets people see any 3 movies of their choosing at any time in IMAX, 3D, and other premium formats. In major cities where the tickets are more expensive, the costs will range from $14.95 for the Select instead of the $9.95, which you get in the middle of the country, to $24.95 for the Red Carpet instead of the $19.95. They're going to introduce this some sort of unlimited programs that would enable users to see as many movies as they wanted each month, but they did not reveal the pricing for that plan. Dennis, you know a lot about small businesses going in and out of a business. Do you talk to me about, is MoviePass just desperate to make this work? I mean, you've built something from the ground up. MoviePass is trying to do this here. The AMC stubs works great. I pay $20 a month. I get everything. Yeah, so what is this going to work in any way, shape, or form?
I'll quote Mean Girls. Regina George says to Gretchen Wieners, "Stop trying to make a MoviePass happen." Like it's just one of those things where I remember, just watching recently. If you watched any of those Fire Festival documentaries, right?
Yeah, addictive. Both. Of
Okay, yeah, but the one on Hulu, the one on Netflix, you see when something's too good to be true, and that's what MoviePass tried to do. There's something wrong there. There's something there's some sort of, I don't know if scam's the right word, but there's something not right, and that's MoviePass. Once they dropped down, because they originally were I think like $40 to $50 a month, and that was understandable. Okay, I could see how that kind of thing would work. Once they said, okay, we're dropping out $10, unlimited movie, I'm like, you're not going to sustain that model. And so now they had to backtrack. No one trusts them. I know tons of people who used to have it who I never subscribed to it. I had like friends, and even my sister was telling me, "Oh yeah, you should subscribe." I was like, no, because in like 6 months, they're going to change it, and they keep changing it. And even this deal just doesn't sound that appealing. If like someone like me, if you live next to an AMC, you get a better deal with A-List. So I just don't see the point, unless maybe you, I don't know, live in the middle America in $9.95. You only plan on seeing X amount of movies. But trust me, they're going to do something where they're going to block out like, oh, well, you can't see this new release movie, blah, blah, blah. So
I used to have MoviePass for a long time. Would talk about it on Movie Talk when I had it. Eventually hit the wall, I think last year in February, and got out and cut the card and everything like that. This feels, Jeff, like a terrible relationship where the person comes back is like, no, I've made these changes. I'm better. Like I learned from our last thing. Trust me. And then, of course, they leave you alone at 2 a.m. in the wrong place because they had to go and do whatever and forgot about you. I've seen this. This is what it feels like. Oh, we've made these changes. We're doing better. Come back. Do you think this is a lot of wasted effort, and like, what are these investors going to get out of it?
Yes, and I'll tell you what, I can't believe the trades who carry the water for this company.
That's fair.
They just it's like companies these days, all they have to do is put out a press release with their own set of facts and their distorted stats and figures and feed it to the trades, and the trades just run a verbatim, and nobody like fact checks anything. Not that some trade articles haven't taken MoviePass to task, because they have, but like these guys were on the cover of Variety not so many months ago. This company is a scam. So I don't care if the pricing options go down to here's
$1.
Yeah, exactly, $1 for 3 movies. I'm never going to give them my information because you can't trust them, because their PR has been one of just the worst things ever. I'm an investor in the company. Like I saw everyone getting MoviePass. It seemed like everybody I knew had MoviePass overnight. I put $100 into it. That $100 is evaporated. It's worth like 33 cents because they used my money and investors' money to buy movie tickets for you guys. So you're all welcome, okay? And I'm an idiot. I've never invested in anything before in my life. This is my first investment. Money flushed down the drain. These guys are a joke. Do not give them your business.
Is Billy McFarland the
it really
CEO?
is. It's just like Magnus's. It's just like the Magnus's card in your wallet. Like I have no sympathy for you. Like, and I get that it was good for the consumer. Like there are a lot of people out there who use MoviePass and were quite happy with it. But oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Like this company's awful.
I started when it was $30 a month or $40. I was happy.
That was more reasonable because you knew you could watch the movies you needed to watch.
Exactly.
I have no problem with that. It's just when they cut down to $10, it was like, okay, red flags start.
That better part of you starts to feel like you're taking advantage of a situation that you shouldn't be taking advantage of. And you go see these movies like, this can't last forever, even though they kept saying, we've got so much investors, we've got so much capital, we're fine. This shows you that this is a company that is dog paddling and about to drown. And it's blowing your mind that they keep coming out thinking this will somehow work. And every single time it has not.
And when they trolled critics and reporters over all the Gotti stuff last year, that just left a bad taste in my mouth. Like I think that Gotti got a bad rap. I don't think that it is the worst movie ever made, like a lot of people proclaimed it as.
Okay.
But the way that MoviePass responded to all that stuff was not good.
Okay. All right. All right, Jeff. That's fair. All right. Let's answer some questions here. We got a little bit of time for your fan questions. I love this. This is from Josh Park at Fat Hamster, P-H-A-T Hamster. He asks, if you could improve a film from the Best Picture nominations by adding Nic Cage, where would you put him? I say Cage and Roma would have made it less boring.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah, some people. Josh McCouga on Twitter has expressed his feelings about how boring Roma was.
I've got some ideas. Do you want to go first,
No,
Dennis?
you go first. I'm starting to think of the nominees.
I think that Nic Cage as maybe Ulysses Claw would have been interesting in Black Panther.
Yes.
Right, that was Black Panther,
Yes,
wasn't it?
yes.
He's in that. I don't know. Is he?
Yeah,
Yes.
he
I don't
does.
even remember.
Yes.
Okay. I think that Nic Cage could have played Viggo Mortensen's role in Green Book. You know, as like that tough talking New Yorker.
Yeah.
Who learns a valuable lesson. What else? I mean, I suppose he was already in. No, that was Snowden. He wasn't in W, was he? I was just thinking if he could slide into Vice somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it.
Okay, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, Vice probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
Who would he play though? Who could Nicolas Cage play in Vice?
Maybe.
Barbara Bush.
No, it could be George Dubb. I like Sam Rockwell.
Interesting.
I liked him, but I mean, I could see Nic Cage.
I could see Nic Cage as Dave Chappelle in A Star Is Born. As being that guy. I found my
Great
port,
points.
and I like my port.
That's a great point. Yeah. Oh, you don't look so well, man. I would love to see Nic Cage in The Favorite. That seems to make sense with his hilarious sensibilities and that offbeat humor in that film. It would have been interesting to see Nic Cage all in the garb of that time go toe to toe with Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone and Olivia Colman in there.
Good question. I like that question.
Yeah, it was a good, fun question. All right, here's another one that maybe you might not like so much, Jeff. This is from Joe Jermolowitz at JoeyJ2J. If you could give a sixth nomination in a category, would you give it to Claire Foy for First Man for Best Supporting Actress or Toni Collette for Hereditary for Best Actress?
Well, for me, because I didn't see Hereditary,
Okay.
I would give it to Claire Foy. I actually thought she was going to get nominated for First Man. I think she did a wonderful job in that movie. I actually really liked that movie, and I know it wasn't that well received, especially at the box office, so it didn't have a chance to get nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
I think it was one of my favorite movies of last year.
Agreed.
It's a tough question. I thought Claire Foy was really good in First Man. I thought she was the best part about the movie, and I thought that she was deserving of a nomination. But I think I'll go Toni Collette here. I thought she was just a lot better than your average horror lead, and the dinner table scene in that movie really stands out, even though there's no actual horror like in that scene. It just felt very real. I'd credit her with a lot for the success of that film.
Do you think, as we've seen, and this is my own question, but do you think as we've seen this comic book movie bias now kind of break this year, do you think a horror movie bias and a latent comedy movie bias might be broken as we move forward with the Oscars? I mean, this idea of ratings, this idea of wanting to bring in more people, do you think that's going to happen?
I think just the Academy opening up the ranks means that what an Oscar movie is changing, and that's why FYC has always started, with these Perry asking these different celebrities, like, what is an Oscar movie these days?
Right.
Like if they had made 40-Year-Old Virgin or something like that these days, or Knocked Up, I wonder if a movie like that could get a Best Picture nomination.
Probably not. There's still, I mean, back in the day, comedies were nominated, but now, it's, unless it's a dramedy.
You don't think it's easier now with the membership opened up and getting a lot younger?
It's easier now, but I'd say they'd still go with something that's more serious. And I don't know how much. I mean, it's great that Black Panther got nominated, but I still don't know how much that's going to open up for other comic book movies.
Right, like Black Panther still didn't get any acting nominations,
didn't get acting,
Right.
which it could have. Like Michael B. Jordan, I thought was totally deserving of a nomination. So, we may have to wait to say that the comic book bias has been lifted until either Black Panther wins Best Picture or we start to see actual performances in comic book movies getting nominated, like Hugh Jackman for Logan, who was also
should
very
have
deserving.
been.
Yes.
And
Even
Patrick
Patrick
Stewart.
Stewart, yeah.
And Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, they both should have been nominated. The movie should have been nominated.
Exactly.
But
Dennis and I
I guess
still.
Heath Ledger won, but
Yeah, but that was posthumously.
Yeah.
So what are you going to... would he have won if he had not passed away? That's the question. Would he have beaten Robert Downey Jr.'s... he was incredible in Tropic
was always
Thunder.
going to win.
You do think so?
But you're right.
Okay.
You can't do the what ifs.
Right.
It's hard.
It's tough to figure that out. You know, Dennis and I still working on that Logan documentary or commentary.
Commentary.
One of these days, definitely going to happen. All right. One last thing before we go, because we got a minute or so. This is for this last question from Grant at MK Songbird, and I think it's a great way to end this show. As crazy as the show has been, which franchise is more likely to reach space first? The Fast and the Furious or Mission Impossible? Also, Rocha, it's Schenectady. My apologies. In Looney Tunes, sometimes I didn't pay attention how Bugs Bunny said those things, so my apologies there. All right, Fast and Furious or Mission Impossible? Which one's going to space first?
Mission Impossible.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds crazy, but I too will say Mission Impossible, just because I think that the villains in those movies are a little bit more well funded and organized, and like it's the villains that could get to space, and then they sort of lure Ethan Hunt out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. I think I got to go with Mission Impossible as well, just because cars in space. I don't know if that can be done. I mean, having a car come out of a plane, I guess, while it's going has been done. So I wonder if they could come out of a space shuttle. We'll see. But I think Mission Impossible makes more sense with Cruise signed on for 2 more with McQuarrie directing. So it'd be fun to see him hanging on. I still believe he'll hang on the side of a space shuttle somehow in the Mission Impossible movie. And when it happens, I'm just going to smile like a big dumb idiot in the theater. I want to give you some last plugs before we sign off here. Check out an all new TV Talk tomorrow. It will drop there in the morning. All new Action Guys. Those guys, Andrew Guy and Ben Bateman, they will drop a new episode that'll be up on the channel tomorrow. And of course, an all new Collider Games podcast. Dennis, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, we're going to talk about how EA canceled that Star Wars. We talked about it last week, but now the screenwriter for Rogue One kind of blasts them, saying that game would have been tremendous and that EA is mismanaging the franchise.
Right. Right. All right. That's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about there. You can follow Dennis at Think Hero. You can follow Jeff Sneider at The In Snyder. You can follow me at The Rocha Says. Thanks everybody for watching Collider Movie Talk today. Big shout out to Adam Smith back there, rolling with my cuts and my switches as best as he can. And I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for watching and all your questions and the comments you left on live chat. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you on Monday with a brand new movie talk. And don't forget the Schmoedown live event is this weekend, Saturday night. You can watch it live streaming. I think it's $2.99, $2.99. You can watch the whole event there from the comfort of your house and yell out the questions and get upset at the contestants for not knowing the answers that you totally knew sitting back in your nice comfy chair. Do that. It's going to be fun. Ethan Irwin taking on Dan Murrow for the title, and of course Chance Ellison taking on Janine. So it's going to be some fun matches to watch there. And Christian will have some surprises for all you Schmoedown fans. All right, thanks everybody for watching Collider Movie Talk. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
Shout out Script Shadow.
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.